we are kicking things off with a massive legal development shaking up the Ohio State landscape. 30 former Ohio State football players have officially joined a class action lawsuit against the university, alleging sexual abuse by former Dr. Richard Strauss. This is a huge moment, as these former teammates are finally coming forward to demand accountability for what happened.
Stop using your finger for notes, sketches, and edits. This Jam Jake stylus pen gives your iPad a smoother, more precise writing feel with palm rejection so your hand can rest naturally on the screen. It charges fast, works for hours, and comes with replacement tips. Perfect for school, work, or creative projects. Check the link in the comments to grab it on Amazon.
The details of this case are staggering. We are looking at former players including members of the 1980 Rose Bowl team, specifically Al Washington, Ray Ellis, and Keith Ferguson, who played in the NFL. These men have signed letters to join the suit, marking them as the first football athletes to publicly stand as plaintiffs in this long-running legal battle. The fight against this abuse has been ongoing, and now these players are stepping up. Attorney Rocky Ratliff explained that these men came forward after years of shame and fear, realizing the time was right to speak out about male-on-male sexual abuse. We look at how Ohio State has responded, including the independent report that found the university failed to respond to evidence of abuse for almost 2 decades. This story highlights the difficult journey to seek justice. While Ohio State has settled with 317 survivors for over $60 million, these players are pushing for deeper accountability. Stay with us as we continue to follow the fallout from this massive lawsuit and what it means for the future of the program. 30 former Ohio State football players have joined a class action lawsuit against the university, alleging that late Dr. Richard Strauss sexually abused them during their time as Buckeyes. This marks the first public involvement from former football players in the case, which has primarily been led by former wrestlers in the ongoing legal battle against the institution. The group includes members of Ohio State's 1980 Rose Bowl team, such as Al Washington Sr., Ray Ellis, and Keith Ferguson. Former wrestler Mike Di Sabato announced the group's participation in a press release on Thursday. The plaintiffs are seeking accountability from Ohio State for allegedly failing to protect students from Strauss. Al Washington Sr. stated in the release, "We stand together in solidarity as former teammates and Buckeyes who love our university and the legacy of Coach Woody Hayes. Coach Hayes always preached to us to pay forward. Using our voices to pay forward in this situation is not easy, but we believe it is necessary to protect future athletes and to ensure accountability for what happened to us. We are committed to seeing this through, not only for ourselves, but for every survivor who has carried this burden in silence. We also feel a responsibility to defend the integrity of the program and Coach Hayes, who taught us about accountability, discipline, and doing what is right." Former Ohio State wrestler and attorney Rocky Ratliff confirmed on Thursday that he would represent the group of 30 who signed engagement letters to join the lawsuit. Richard Strauss, a physician who worked at Ohio State from 1978 to 1998 before retiring, died by suicide in 2005. For context, reports indicate that as of April 16, Ohio State had previously settled with 317 former survivors since March 2020. 30 former Ohio State football players are joining a class action lawsuit against the university, alleging sexual abuse by former team member Dr. Richard Strauss. The group includes 3 members of the 1980 Rose Bowl team, Al Washington, Ray Ellis, and Keith Ferguson, all of whom played in the NFL and were team captains. The players have formally signed letters to participate in the legal action, according to attorney Rocky Ratliff. Strauss survivor Mike Di Sabato expressed significance in the players' involvement, noting that these athletes are the first football players to publicly stand as plaintiffs in the case. Ratliff stated the players are coming forward to educate the public about male-on-male sexual abuse and to ensure survivors are not forced into silence. Al Washington, one of the plaintiffs, revealed that his initial hesitation to come forward stemmed from fear of retaliation from the university regarding Strauss survivors and concerns for his family's professional standing as a licensed insurance agent. Washington emphasized solidarity with fellow Buckeyes and the legacy of Coach Woody Hayes, asserting that using their voices is necessary to ensure accountability for past actions and protect future athletes. In related activism, Washington has participated in rallies calling for the removal of Les Wexner's name from the football complex due to his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Ohio State spokesperson Ben Johnson stated that the university has continually worked to reconcile with survivors and referenced an independent Perkins Coie report on the Strauss abuse, which concluded that Ohio State failed to properly respond to evidence of sexual abuse for nearly 2 decades. The report, released 7 years ago, details that Strauss treated students across various sports, including football. To date, the university has settled with 317 survivors for over $61 million. Dr. Richard Strauss was employed by Ohio State from 1978 to 1998 and died by suicide in 2005. 30 former Ohio State football players, including several NFL veterans, have joined a federal lawsuit against the university alleging sexual abuse by a team doctor decades ago. The move comes as the case progresses, with former players seeking to bring public awareness to the issue. Rocky Ratliff, the lawyer leading the effort, stated that the men came forward after 8 years due to the shame and fear associated with revealing their experiences. Ratliff emphasized that the goal is to show that it is acceptable for individuals to come forward regarding male-to-male sexual abuse. Ohio State has faced federal lawsuits since 2018 concerning the failure to stop abuse by Dr. Richard Strauss, who worked at the university from 1978 to 1998 and passed away in 2005. Hundreds of former student-athletes have reported being abused by Strauss. The former players have signed agreements to join the lawsuit filed by other victims. Only 3 of the 30 former players have agreed to publicly disclose their identities. Al Washington, Ray Ellis, and Keith Ferguson, all members of the 1980 Rose Bowl team recruited by Coach Woody Hayes. Other players have opted for sealed settlements. Ohio State has maintained that it has persistently worked to reconcile with survivors through monetary settlements, counseling services, and medical treatment. As of April 15, the university had settled with 317 survivors for over $61 million and remains engaged in mediation. Washington, who was subjected to unlawful physical exams by Strauss at age 18 or 19, shared that the experience was uncomfortable, though he had previously tried to minimize it. He was a linebacker for Ohio State and a 4th-round draft pick in 1981. Ellis and Ferguson also had significant NFL careers. Dr. Strauss retired in 1998 with emeritus status, and the school trustees revoked that honor 3 years ago. Washington later recalled being deeply affected by a 2025 documentary film about the experience, stating the pain and anguish he witnessed were overwhelming. 30 former Ohio State football players, including several former NFL athletes, have joined a federal lawsuit against the university concerning the sexual abuse of student-athletes that occurred decades ago by a team doctor. The legal representative, Rocky Ratliff, stated that these men came forward approximately 8 years after an initial lawsuit was filed, citing the need to overcome the shame of disclosure and the fear of public confrontation with the university. Ratliff noted that while the survivors are still dealing with the trauma, they are motivated by the university's current treatment of athletes, hoping to normalize coming forward regarding male-to-male sexual abuse. This action follows ongoing legal battles since 2018 brought by former student-athletes, alleging the university failed to stop abuse by Dr. Richard Strauss, who worked at the institution from 1978 to 1998 and passed away in 2005. Hundreds have reported being abused by Strauss. The former players have signed agreements to join the lawsuit filed by other victims of Strauss. Only 3 of the 30 players have agreed to publicly identify themselves. Al Washington, Ray Ellis, and Keith Ferguson, all members of the 1980 Rose Bowl team recruited by Coach Woody Hayes. Other former players have opted for sealed settlements to maintain anonymity. Ohio State has maintained that it has persistently attempted to reconcile with survivors through monetary settlements, counseling services, and medical treatment. As of April 15, the university had settled with 317 survivors for over $61 million and continues to engage in mediation. Al Washington, who is now 67, shared his experience, recounting being subjected to what he described as unlawful physical exams by Strauss when he was 18 or 19. He admitted that while he and the other players tried to joke about the experience, it was deeply uncomfortable. Watching the 2025 documentary film, Surviving Ohio State, brought the pain to the forefront, stating, "The pain and anguish that I saw, I just couldn't take." Dr. Strauss retired in 1998 with emeritus status, and the school trustees revoked his Mark of Honor 3 years ago. The former players have extensive athletic backgrounds, with Washington drafted in 1981, Ellis having a 7-year NFL career with the Eagles and Browns, and Ferguson playing in the NFL from 1981 to 1990.